Thanks for joining me again. This one is going to be an informative video on the IF. There seems to be a bit of confusion on YouTube with the IF of the Legend and how it performs and getting the best IF settings. With the IF settings, the only way you will get your best IF settings is to tune it into your land, not the find. You're going to tune it into the iron, the size of the iron. It's like on these tests, one person could do a test and they'll tune into that iron. That iron will not be the same iron as on your sites. So say I've got some settings, I've tuned it into the iron on my site, you will have to adjust and tune into the iron on your site. And you do that by just get a medium. Don't run it at 8 IF. I'd run it at 3. Run it at 3 or 4, I'd say. Stability 2, possibly. And as you're detecting, you'll see how low you can take it. Because I've got one of my settings, you can see on one of my YouTube videos, one of my settings, I've managed to get the IF on some of my ground, on one of my permissions. Not all of them, not all of them. On one of my permissions, I've got 2-1, which is 2 IF and 1 stability. Now I just want to add to that, it's something that I've seen that's come about on YouTube about what the stability is for. So on that site that I just said, my permission, I can run it at 2-1. Now, very dry land. If there was a downpour and there was more moisture content on that ground, all I'd have to do is increase the stability, because the more conductive the ground is, my setting could then start faulting on iron. So you can raise the stability a bit. But you can still use IF2. You know what I mean? You don't have to increase the stability, the IF to 3. You don't have to go that far. Just stabilise IF2, because of the different moisture in the ground, things are going to react different. It's also the same, I've seen some stuff, and it's also the same with your frequencies. M1, M2 and M3 are going to hit iron differently. Iron is a low conductor, so really M2 will hit, because it's got higher frequencies, will hit the iron harder. This is why M3's come out. M3's stopping the halo and halo effects of stuff, and that'll be iron as well, which has the biggest halo effect of anything. Iron, it leaches into the ground a lot more, fragments into the ground. You could actually take iron out of the ground and you'll still get the halo effects left there. It can be about that big on a small nail. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. We'll carry on. I know that they are perfect for that site, because if you look on one of my past videos, I actually dug a non-ferrous target with ferrous in the hole, so it is separating. If I had that at 1.5 or 1.2, I'd be faulting on iron. So I will show you the settings. People have been asking the settings for the dime. Now, since some people having to drop the IF to 1.5 and sometimes the tone break back to 6, there's no need to go that low. You can go that low, it all depends on your iron content, and it all depends how much iron you're willing to dig to get really tricky signals. So yeah, now when I give you these settings, it's the settings that are on my nails. You might have to tweak them a bit, but I'll show you the settings that I've been hitting with a dime. IF of 3 IF of 3, yeah, and I'll show you I'll spread some nails out. I'll spread some nails out as like just a real thing, and you won't get any falsing. You won't get any falsing, but you'll still hit that dime. Well, I will. You'll have to change them a bit. I'll still hit that dime at 10, 11 inches. Okay, let's get to it. Let's quickly go through settings. We've got all metal, park, M2, IF3, stability 5, audio gains on 4, tone brake back to 8. Properly up here, I want to get onto the real history in the ground, so to say. So we've got our dime, elevated nails. If there's any falsing, there's no falsing on there. Put the dime in. Six, 7, slow. As you're getting closer to the nail, he's losing it a bit. We're going for depth, aren't we? You can alter this. We can get it to it so it's closer. It's all about the altering. There's no one settings for someone's permission. It can change so much. This is the live. There's the nails. No real falsing going on there. There is a little bit, but if you're willing to get coins out from that situation, you've got to expect a bit of falsing. Now, you can turn the falsing right off. You can turn the falsing right off, but you'll lose out on getting some of these items, and this is what it's all about. This is what the IF is all about. It's how enjoyable you want your dig, and how much you want them harder targets, you know. So it's entirely up to you. That's what the IF's there for. If you don't want to get into between the iron, just run it at a high IF. The ones that are really risking to get that stuff out, the really tricky stuff over permissions that have been done by other detectorists, you've got to work for it. You've got to work for it. You've got to be willing to drop the IF, stabilize it, and you've got to be willing to work for it. It's not, machine isn't a magic one where you're just going to be picking targets out, and these what these more expensive machines bring to the table. It's not a beginner machine. I've seen a lot of stuff, oh, it's too complicated for beginners. It's not a beginner machine. It's you're getting a lot more for the price. If you want to get into them signals, you want all the steps you can have on an iron filter. You want as much. If the stability is great, I think the stability is great. Run with a free, run with a free stability, so you have got that bit of headroom and you can drop it a bit, or keep it at the bottom. If it's falsing, just take the stability up, but keep the IF. This is totally different. This benchmark is totally different to what's in the ground. That stability is for targets in the ground, not in air. It's to do with water moisture and conductivity of the ground. That's what the stability is there for, so you can still run the IF to get into between the iffy signals, the hidden targets, without too much falsing, so increase the stability. Right, I hope that helps you out. Another testing thingy, but it's just to show. I won't be able to show you that in the ground, so I'm just showing you on the benchmark. And it is all to do with you tuning it in to your ground, tuning to what iron's on there, stuff like that. Like I say, run at a 3 maybe. If you might want to run at a 2-1, but then if you start digging iron, too much iron for your liking, increase it. You know, it all depends on the conductivity of the ground and stuff like that. There's so much. These bench tests are totally different, but on these bench tests you can see it. You can just see how the performance on this bench test doesn't necessarily mean at all the performance that's in the ground is totally separate. Totally separate. It just shows you the performance of the detector with all external influences. It's all up to you. It's all up to you, but it's not as hard as people are making it out. I've seen a couple of videos out today, and they're trying to get to simplify the iron filter, to simplify it, to take stuff away from it, to make it easier for the beginner. Instead of making it easier for the beginner, keep it the way it is and let the beginner learn. Learn and make themselves a better detector user. Yeah, and if they don't want to do that, get something simpler. But you will not be digging targets out of iron. It all depends how much you want to do. It's good to have the selection. If you can use the Legend, you can use the Legend as a beginner detector by just using IF8, and it will run the same as 1.07. So it customs to beginners and advanced hunters who want to really hunt out them targets. All right, that's all I'm saying. Okay, thank you. If you like what you're seeing, that you want to see, the next video will be a hunt, by the way. The grass has been cut on one of my lands, so I'm going to get into it and yeah, pull out the stuff that the Simplex has missed, hopefully. Yeah, like and subscribe and follow if you want. Yeah, no problem. All right, see you later. Bye.